Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi. How do I address you?
Hi, I'm Davina from
Sabina.
GWNet.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Yes, Davina.
Yes. We have
Likewise.
created um we have prepared a PowerPoint to briefly introduce ourselves.
Perfect.
Okay,
I look forward
thank
to it.
you. So my name is Annie and I'm the sophomore of the Department of Foreign Language and Literatures.
and I'm Zomi. I'm a junior and studying urban planning and spatial information department.
And I'm Leo. I'm majoring in electronical engineering.
Okay, so back to our project. This is our missions and our team name will be Lu Jun and Hook. We promote the green knowledge to the young generations in Taiwan by attractive and easier infographic. And also we will use some of the humor pictures to attract them to looking into our post. This is what we're doing now. We have interviewed several organizations around the world, and the goal is to know more about the professional knowledge of the green energies. And also we have arranged this content into the post on our Instagram account. And this is what we will do next. We have created the Green Energy Taiwan. It's an Instagram account, and we will make the easy guide of the sustainable energies. And if you look into the yellow part, the yellow rectangle in the left side, we will be focused on the forming kinds of renewable power. And also we will use the interesting stories and very humorous means to attract the young generations in Taiwan to look into our post. So what's different to other website also introduce the green energy in Taiwan is that because we have found the government website, there's many complicated data and it's mainly to made for the professional peoples and the researchers to look into. So for the public and the people who is not major in the energy engineer and chemical part, it's very hard to realize and understand. So the third goal of our Instagram account will be focused on to simplify those complicated data into the very like easy table or the diagram. So there will be very clear comparisons of the differences or some similar parts of the renewable energy. And also we have designed a questionnaire and we distribute the questionnaire to our friends, like the people in our same age. The first one is like we want to know whether they are major in the related department. And the second one, we have decided the professional knowledge test. And the contents is very easy, from easy to difficult. We want to know the currently level of the renewable energies in nowadays younger generations. And the third one will be we want to know in the daily life where they get the related information. It's from the government website or they're taking courses in the school and or from the media. And also we have do a survey. It's about what they want to see, what kind of content they want to see on our Instagram account. And this pink part will be our content. The first one will be the basic knowledge. And the second one, we will compare the policies in the countries all over the world. And the third one will be the developmented cases in the Taiwan and also in the world. And the green part is that we planned to hold the Green Week in the universities to promote the green knowledge, but because of the COVID-19, we have to postpone the plan. And the third one will be we have a plan to cooperate with the podcaster to make a program, a series of programs about the renewable energy, because we have the team members who has a friend is a podcaster. And the last one is the part that I think is the most interesting, is that we planned to visit the local companies in Taiwan. And the company is doing the renewable energy business, and we want to shooting the vlog. And then the trailers will be on the Instagram, and the full video will be on the YouTube. This is our project agenda. So, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Just so that I can understand a bit better the numbers, like 5, 6, all the way to 11. Have you already started this? If not, when do you plan to start your project?
We have already started the project, and also we have made some of the content on our Instagram accounts.
Okay. Thank you for sharing this information. Just so that I can get a better idea, what were you hoping to achieve like through our meeting today? Were you looking for some sort of information or to learn more about GWNet?
Yes, because we know you're organizations who is dedicated to transform the gender inequalities in the renewable energy. So would you like to share the action of the organization, like what you did and your goal?
Yes, I can give a summary of what we do. So like you've mentioned, our organization aims to advance the participation of women in the energy transition. So what we've seen is in the renewable energy sector, only 32% of the workforce is women. And even among the 32%, very few women, less than 10% can be seen in senior decision making roles, and very few women can be seen in uh, technical roles like science, technology, mathematics, engineering. But we see the value in having women across the value chain. So in all areas of the energy transition, not just one area. So our work is focused on advancing women around the world. So we are a global organization. We don't just focus on one country or one region. We focus on increasing this percentage and increasing this representation around the world. And to do that, we have three main activities. The first is advocacy. So to be able to even start a conversation on gender in energy is very important. So we share a lot of information about women's participation in the energy sector, because there's also very little research. What we do is we also generate information on women's participation. What is the situation right now? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? Why should we involve more women? So we also speak at a lot of events and webinars, just ensuring that this message is spread as much as possible. The second thing we do is networking. So we've seen that a lot of women do not have the same support networks as their male colleagues. So what we do is bring together women who are already working in the energy sector, through networking events and other activities, so that they can have the support networks needed for their work. Because for any career or any profession, networking is an important part. So that is something we do. Um, and then the last thing we do is mentorship. And this is advancing the professional careers of women already existing in the sector by connecting them to more senior professionals for career advice and other professional development. So those are the three areas that we work in. That's just a bit of a summary of what we do. So just based on that, do you have any additional questions um, or areas you'd like us to discuss?
Yes, thank you for your response. The first one will be uh, besides the networking, what kind of measures you have done to eliminate the unfair phenomenons of women in the workplace, like no matter in the aspects of policies, educations, or media.
Yeah, as I mentioned, our focus is on advocacy, networking, and mentoring. Um, so we don't, we're not actively involved in policy work because policy work changes depending on your country. But what we do is a lot of advocacy on policies which are favorable to gender equality. So we have, like, for example, a study we released in 2020, which looked at good practices for increasing women in the energy workforce. So one of the things we were looking at was the type of policies which are supportive of gender equality. Things like family leave, sexual harassment policies, um, just these different things which we can then advocate for when we're talking in webinars, when we're talking at events, at conferences. But actually changing the policies is not something we focus on. So it's not something we actively work on together with governments, but we provide the information that can allow for these policies to be changed.
Right. And also, I found there is a webinar about the relationship between COVID-19 and the gender equality in the renewable energy industry. I would like to know what the pandemic brings to this topic and whether it has brought a positive or a negative effect.
Hello.
Hello?
On women. Hello,
Hello?
can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Did you get that, or should I repeat?
Oh, sorry, we don't hear the things because you didn't turn on the microphone. So, um, can you speak it again? Or
Sorry about that. I didn't realize my mic
thank
was
you,
turned off. Um,
thank you.
yeah, so I was mentioning when it comes to the current research available, I haven't seen much on COVID, gender, and energy. What I've read is about just COVID and gender, so the impact the pandemic has had on mostly women. Um, so I've seen this in different ways. The first is when it comes to um, people optionally leaving the workforce. Um, we've seen more women, um, and one of the factors has been the gender pay gap, which is men earning more than women for the same jobs. Um, so during the pandemic, we've seen an increase in the cost of childcare. So in the case of a two-person household where someone has had to leave their job to take care of children because taking care of children and leaving a job is cheaper than actually paying for childcare. We've seen in most cases it has been women because they're in lower paying jobs, which cannot fully support a household. So we've seen more women leaving the workforce. Um, we've seen a lot of women as well being fired from their jobs, and this is because a lot of the jobs that have been lost by COVID have been quote unquote what people have considered um, non-essential jobs, um, and these are often jobs where women are working. So in terms of people getting fired, again, there's been a disproportionate amount of women. And then lastly, when it comes to personal responsibilities increasing during the pandemic, like childcare and elder care, caring for like elderly family members, this is still something that falls mostly on women. So in terms of work-life balance, which has become extremely difficult with COVID, we've also seen quite a significant amount of women leaving their jobs just because they cannot balance um, childcare, elderly care, and work, which has disproportionately fallen on women and not um, on across the genders. So nothing specific to energy, but just the general trend has been um, more women, unfortunately, leaving the workforce during the pandemic.
It's like somehow related, like because kids have to do the online learning at home, so the woman has to leave the workplace because they need to take care of the kids. Is this a part of the reason?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because what we're seeing is childcare is still around the world a responsibility for falling mostly on women. Of course, this is not always the case, but mostly on women. So definitely, when you have children learning from home, um, that increases responsibility, and it's very difficult to balance a full-time job as well as now full-time childcare, where before it was a full-time job and those the children were possibly in school or at a kindergarten or at a daycare, which was which had the ability to reduce the responsibility on the parents. But in this case, we're seeing that that is not really happening.
So this part will be the negative part that the pandemic affect the gender inequality. But I would like to ask, is there brings any positive effect of the woman in for the pandemic happened, or just only all of the negative point of view?
I think it differs just based on the type of job a woman is doing as well as the country. Um, so also as we discussed it, not we need to be careful not to group all women together. So for example, women who are working in like corporate jobs now have um, more flexible options for working, such as working from home or working part-time. And this flexibility has been very positive for some women, but then it doesn't really translate to women who are not working in the corporate workforce. Um, so, so women in the more informal workforces, I think, are worse off during this pandemic, and the flexibility and the lack of structure um, is not very supportive of them and their needs. Um, and I think, yeah, we do need to be also mindful of remembering, we're not talking about one group who has the same needs, but each this one group of women has very different needs just based on their income level, where they're working, which country they're working in, um, their education level, and by far it's had a negative impact more than a positive impact.
So, like when you promote the related topic of the gender equality, have you encountered any obstacle in the process and how did you solve it?
Um, can you please elaborate more on your question because I don't really understand it.
Um, like, have you encountered any obstacle in the process when you are doing the advocacy of the gender equality issue, and how did you solve it?
Um, I think more and more people are willing to listen to issues focused on gender by attending webinars or events, reading articles, or just paying attention. But I still think that even though there are more people willing to listen, there's still very few people willing to invest in any type of solutions. An investment can be um, as simple as having gender sensitive training for workforces to ensure that an entire workforce is aware of um, the issue and possible solutions, or investing time in creating policies that can positively influence gender within organizations or at a country level, or invest in programs or projects that can support gender and energy projects. So I think that's a huge issue still. It's, yeah, you can listen, but to get a solution, you do need to invest time or money, and we're still far away from that. And with the pandemic, with the resources are even more limited, and for many, gender is not a priority, so it's like taking a few steps back as well, um, because there's progress made. But if someone thinks it's important but not a priority, then they won't really invest anything in it.
Nana, you seems like you have question to ask.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, as I mentioned, at least for the renewable energy sector, the percentage of women is around 32%, and in fossil fuels, it's around 22. So, in renewable energy, it's much higher. But then, when you look at where the women are focused, when it comes to the technical roles like engineering, it's extremely low, and it's definitely not one to one in any country around the world. Um, and this is really significant because engineering and maths and science um, and technology related subjects are crucial to the energy transition, as we create advanced technologies and we try to implement them, or as we gather data and we try to model it, it's really important to have a diversity of perspectives in these different roles. Um, so the Women in Wind program is one of our several mentorship programs. It's focused on the professional development of women working in the wind sector in some key emerging markets. For example, Kenya or Brazil, uh, India. We have I believe 18 emerging markets which are where women from those countries are able to participate in the program. This is just one of several programs we run. We have some in energy storage. Um, we also have some in clean cooking, which is important as energy access is usually forgotten when we discuss about the energy transition. Um, so yeah, there are several other programs that GWNet personally runs. I've also seen different organizations running internal programs focused on, for example, women solar technicians. Um, so yeah, more and more I do see these capacity building programs available. Um, and then for your second question, how can we involve more women students in these technical subjects? I think for one of the problems we've seen is, at least for primary school or secondary school, there's still a lot of um, girls discouraged from taking any technical subjects. At the same time, we see boys discouraged from taking any humanities or arts subjects. So there's a lot of stereotypes on both sides which need to be addressed. Um, so as a first step, um, educating teachers, educating parents, and other people who have influence on the decision of children when it comes to what they want to study is really important in ensuring that children, girls or boys, have um, all the options available to them based on where their passion lies. Um, until then, we can definitely afford to invest in more girl-focused projects, which focus on like engineering at a primary level or secondary level, which focus on robotics, maths. There are several coding camps I've seen which are focused for girls. These type of projects increase interest, and they support any passion or curiosity of girls who might be strong in these subjects. So that's definitely one thing to start. Competitions at a school level, um, ensuring that when you run any type of programs, you have gender diversity or gender balance. These are good ways to encourage more girls to take technical subjects. As you mentioned, scholarships are also another good option. Scholarships are always a great option because it provides an opportunity for education where that might not have been the case. Um, Also, perhaps at the university level, is opportunities for training or for internship to allow more female students to um, experience more technical roles. So I mentioned there's the report we did in 2020. We've mentioned or we've discussed um, how you can begin to promote diversity at um, gender diversity at a school age. So definitely, that's a report I encourage you to read. Um, you'll find some information which discusses more on this subject.
Thank you for your response. And the next question will be, I would like to ask, how many people in your organizations, and is there have the internship or volunteer vacancy?
So currently, we have like a secretariat. So it's a small organization, and we're currently five of us in the secretariat. We're growing each year, and then we of course have a board, an advisory board, uh, which is much larger. So these are the people who support our work. But for the day-to-day activities, It's just five of us. Um, Currently, we've just finished. We closed up applications for a communications internship position. So we're just finalizing on selecting a sixth member of the team. Apart from that, we don't have any open opportunities for internship or volunteering. But when we do, we're always posting them on our different channels, and encouraging people from around the world just to take part, um, and get the opportunity to join us in this mission.
Thank you. And so, like, um, the girls, they're they're discouraged to enter the engineering room. But besides that, I know that in many careers there have the glass ceilings, like women cannot be in the higher positions, get the higher positions, and they have the less opportunities than the male. So besides to um, encourage girls to participate in the energy area, is that have should we also try to make the workplace and to increase the opportunities for women to get the higher positions in this kind of realm better, and how can we um, achieve this goal?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when we talk about um, increasing the participation of women in the energy sector, there's like three things we look at. First is recruitment. So are we recruiting enough new talent? So enough women graduates, for example, into the energy sector. So this is perhaps when you can discuss stuff about universities, and how you can support women to study more technical subjects or more relevant subjects for the energy transition. The second is retention. So basically, the women who are already existing within the energy sector, are they staying in the energy sector or are they leaving? And what we find is that there are a lot leaving. So this means that even though you're recruiting many um, women, if a lot are leaving, then the percentages are not changing and the impact you're trying to have is not being met. And then the third is advancement, and this is what you're talking about, is basically which positions do do women hold within the energy sector. What we have now is a lot of women in administrative roles, and while this is important, we also need to have women in senior decision making roles, because people who make decisions can have a lot of impact on how the energy transition is carried out in different countries, what type of impact it has, etc., or how fast it occurs. So when it comes to advancing and breaking glass ceilings, there are different activities that can support that. The first is supportive policies. Um, so stuff, for example, policies around family leave or re-entry is really important. So we have a lot of women who take maternity leave or family leave after having children. But if you talk to many of them, re-entering the workforce after taking a break can be particularly hard. You have to retrain in terms of skills. You have to be accepted by organizations that are willing to have a gap within your career. Um, and you also need flexible policies, um, to be able to take part in childcare even as you're working. So if your organization, for example, does not have a daycare, or if it does not allow for flexible working, it's very difficult to have women advancing through the energy sector, just because at one point they leave and then When they come back, they're perhaps stuck. We also see mentorship as really crucial. So mentorship is not something that is gendered. Mentorship is important for any professional, but we support women-focused mentorship programs because we see this as a good way of advancing the careers of women already existing in the energy sector, um, by connecting them with someone who's more senior and who has been through a similar journey and can offer advice. And in any case, on a professional or personal basis, when you have someone offering guidance, um, your chance of making better decisions are higher. So we see mentorship as really crucial in advancing women within the energy sector, and advancing them into leadership positions. And then once you do have um, women in leadership positions and women who also believe in diversity and inclusion, this is crucial in increasing the numbers and the opportunities for everyone else. So these are the two places that I would start. I would say policies, and I'd also say mentorship.
And I think it is also important to like because the structures of the men dominated the engineer part. It's um sustained in a very long time. So in the short term, it's very hard to change. So is it possible to, like to communicate it with the male in with the man in the workplace, and is this will be also a way to achieve the goal to um best to rapidly make the gender equalities in the workplace.
Yeah. So I think whenever you have any type of inequality, the burden should not be on the person who's experiencing the inequality to completely fix it. It has to be everyone working together. So in this case, where the inequality is gender focused, um, and where the inequality is negatively impacting women, women can do a lot towards um, finding a solution. But if we want a solution to be effective, if we want people to accept it, and if we want to achieve equality much faster, we do need the support of all genders. And that's where advocacy is important, because advocacy allows everyone to understand that there is a problem, and then to understand what is the problem actually, and why do we need to work together to solve the problem. And when we have the participation of all genders, then you can see actually much bigger impact than if you have only women talking about this, because it's not just a women's issue; it's a human issue.
So, as for a college student, what can we contribute to these issues, and no matter in the energy sectors or in the gender sectors? And what suggestion do you have in managing a platform for the young generation to make them concerned on the related topic? Because your organization is focused on the advocacies, so I think you have a lot of experience to manage this part of issue.
Yeah, I think like perhaps a good way to start, or a good place to start, is always starting a discussion or starting a conversation. So it's not just immediately providing answers, because answers, yeah, it's not just providing answers, it's starting a conversation. So within your university, are there places to hold forums or webinars to discuss your own experiences with how gender affects you at even a university level? You mentioned, Cheng, that at an in as an engineering student, you've already seen that it's not one on one. You have a lot more male students than female students. So is there an opportunity to use your own experiences to begin to create a discussion. Um, and then based on that, you can actually show students why it's important. So it's not just about, um, it's not just more men than women engineers, like, but what does that really mean when you enter the workforce? What does that really mean for some of the problems we're trying to solve in the world when you only have um, representation from one gender? What does it mean for the energy sector? What does it mean for the development sector, for the water sector? um, because now you already understand the impact uh, I'm mentioning from the energy sector, why it's really important to have equality and inclusiveness there. So if you can already begin to tie in what you're seeing in your own experiences as a university student to some of the bigger problems it can create um, as you move outside of university, that would be really good. So it's always good to share your experiences. I think that's always the best place to start. Um, it would also be interesting to see if you can have any, you can run any projects or competitions uh, in your university that can give an equal chance to women to participate, um, chances for collaboration, just like really fun projects which solve an issue that's facing you all. So conversations, competitions, just to get people involved and get people listening. That's always a really good step. Um, yeah, have as much perspective, have as many voices talking about this issue, and then hopefully, as more people hear this conversation, they're more willing to act. Um, because sometimes, I know in marketing they say that you you see a product 7 times before you buy it. So using that same um, analogy or that same story to actually start making any type of um, any type of action on gender, you need to hear it several times. So this could be one place you hear it, and then maybe another time someone will hear it on a YouTube video, then another time they'll read it in the newspaper. And as more people discuss this issue, we can see more action. Um, so don't think that there's enough people talking about it. There's always room to talk more, and then also see if you can connect with other people who are doing something similar. Because last week I was talking to another group of students from Taiwan who were interested in youth and gender projects, um, similar to what you guys are doing in renewable energy. Um, so look at other universities in Taiwan or even outside of Taiwan. There are definitely very many university students working on this. What can you learn from them and put it in your own university? What can you share from your own experience which they can use in their university? Just reach out to people, and it's amazing what type of it's amazing how many people will respond and who are happy to help, and just what um, information you can learn from them, what ideas you can learn from them. So definitely network as much as you can.
Thank you for the useful information. And that's the question will be, if we have the chance, how can we cooperate in the features like in the media part like Facebook, Twitters, or Instagram?
I think at the moment it would probably be sharing anything that you believe would be relevant for us. So, for example, if you're having agenda focused talk, is that information you can share with us, and perhaps that's information we can share with our audience, because perhaps part of our audience are people who would like to hear more about your perspective. So I think the easiest way to collaborate is just to keep us updated on what you guys are doing, and then it's easy for us to say, yeah, we can definitely support you here, and this is how we can support you, um, and then we can build on this. But yeah, as long as we understand what you're doing, and it will be easier for us to see how we can help you. Um, And also, if we keep up to date with what you guys are doing, if we ever have like an opportunity which is relevant to you as well, then we'd always think about sharing this information first with you.
So, like, because we have get another suggestion is that when we are hold a forum, like a place for people to discuss and issues, we need to be at most neutral as we can. So, is there any ways to make our point of view more neutral to express to people?
I don't think you should be neutral in what you do. That's my own opinion. It's good to have um, your key values, which you believe in, and which everyone understands. These are your values. Um, what you need to be is open-minded, and maybe this is what you meant, but you just use the word neutral. And the difference is with neutral, it's basically you don't really have a position, which is not a good thing. But with open-minded, when you're open-minded, you do have a position, but you're willing to give a space to everyone to talk, and you're willing to listen to everyone, um, which is definitely good. So, for example, we are not neutral. We have a position, which is we need equality and inclusiveness if we want the energy transition to take place. But we are open-minded because we don't have people with the same opinions who take part in our webinars. We try and have diverse voices, and we think this allows for better discussions and better conversations. So yeah, I don't think you should be neutral, my opinion, but I think you should be open to listening and open to learning from others.
Okay, so open-minded. Okay. Okay. Thank you for accepting our interviews, and I think the informations and we have very plentiful, and also we have learned a lot in today. So thank you.
Thank you as well. If I may ask, how did you learn about GWNet?
To dominate. Nana, would you like to answer? I think it's
All right.
because
Thank
you,
you.
yes.
Sorry,
I
go
think
ahead.
it's because it's like your organizations have hold many webinars, and because we have typed the word webinars and it's related about the green energy, and so we have found and gender inequalities can be connect with the energy about the gender equality can be connect with the renewable energy, and we think it's very cool and very new point of view. So I think it's a very good opportunity to have this interview with you. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for reaching out. It was really nice to hear about the work that you guys are doing, and also to just speak more about our work and just to answer some of your questions. And it would definitely be interesting to learn about what you guys decide to do next and if there's a potential areas for us to support you.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Have a lovely evening.
Have a nice day too.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.